Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a while. Yeah, I'm still trying to get back to my feet, and yeah, things are kind of all over the place in terms of work and drum integration and stuff. So I'm trying to get sorted out, but also on the other hand, I have to do a lot of like portfolio work and stuff. And yeah, things are kind of hectic, and I just don't like the way that they are. And sorry about 1 week of a delay of me sharing a progress over here in a new design. This week I actually worked on a drone, and I was getting more into consumer electronics design, which is a lot of like a huge percentage in the margins in the market. And I thought like maybe I could do some work for drones and robotics a little bit. So this is one of them, and this is also another like yet another consumer electronics, but this is more communicating to the senses of the people rather than having something that's like purely mechanical that you just use outside. I would thought this would be a lot more like a emotional companion than being a tool by itself. So without further ado, I think we can jump in, and I hope you guys will enjoy the video. It's going to be around like 40 minutes ish, and yeah, from there we can just start thinking about what we can do next week. I have some ideas on the side, but yeah, like I said, the situations are not that ideal for me to focus on some stuff lately. We will see. So yeah, let's jump in, and I hope you guys will like the video, will enjoy the video, and if you like it, please like and subscribe. Leave some comments below as well. I would love hearing them. For jumping in, for this particular project, I use a lot of like Fusion 360, and I'm not really covering about how this is not going to be a tutorial video. This is going to be about my workflow. So I'm not going to be really explaining the stuff to you guys about how to do something in particular, but it will be mostly about my approach. So, but still, if you guys have any questions, please write them in the comments. So I'll do my best to explain it to you guys, or if you would like to see something else in the next videos, just let me know, and I would love to hear them. Okay, so let's go then. Okay, first things first, let me just walk you guys through on both the mirror board that I created for the project and the Viscom project that I created. I'll first share you guys about my initial idea on this and like the overall inspiration board and my mind map a little bit, just so you guys can have an idea about how I started working on the projects. Let's start working on like looking at the Viscom a little bit. This is a platform that it's powered by AI, generative AI, and what I like about it is like it is more like a tool rather than something that just scrapes the internet and just comes up with some visuals for you. And that's the actual reason why I'm actually using this. I kind of got out of focus, I guess. Let me just check if it works. Anyways, it's not doesn't really matter. What I like doing first stage generally is to just look around a little bit, look at Lemanouche, look at Pinterest a little bit, just to get some idea about like what I would like to do next, because these are personal projects. I just want to get inspired first, rather than like I'm mostly a visual person, rather than just coming up with some ideas like directly like this. I just have to consume stuff in order to get some like solid ideas and start building up from. But I get more inspired by the visuals themselves. So what I just do is like I look at the internet It doesn't have to be directly related to what I search for on the internet, but it's mostly the feeling or the looks of the stuff, or how they build, or the materials and stuff. We can, I guess, just disintegrate it into CMF. It's the most basic approach that I have in projects in general, which is color, material, and feeling. It's the actual like base that I'm looking, and the images that I'm getting inspired from. And yeah, from there I just take off and just come up with some ideas, and then afterwards I just build up. And these were the first images that I found. I was first moved by this design over here. I thought it was like very emotional, and it's very playful, hence this as well. Also, I like the feeling of this material over here and the color choices, for example. I thought this could be a good use. Also this one as well, like I said, CMF, it's color, material, and feeling. I think this one has very good, like, both of those elements. It has feeling. It has a feeling of fabric. It has the color. It's not as sterile as white, but it's like it's warm, and it just kind of gives you this sense of like warmth, like it's a comfort and stuff. And material is the fabric, which is the like material can be fabric, but the material can have different types of feelings. So this type of material has this kind of feeling, and the way that it was woven and stuff, the color choices, also like everything, and the way that they put together ends up in a certain product. So that's the reason why I actually like this a lot, and I thought like this could be a good thing that I can incorporate in the design that I have. Same goes for this as well. Like, until I got here, I kind of had some ideas. I was thinking about making a drone, but that drone should be somehow interactable in a way that it might have arms, for example, and it might grab something. And like these ridges over here, I thought like, these are very sleek. I think we can incorporate that somehow. Also, it also amplifies the feeling part of CMF. So textures are important. That's the reason why I just use this one. Same for this as well. Like, has a certain, like, fabric has a certain type of warmth that you can incorporate in the emotional designs a lot, which is also a case for this one and this one as well, which are like robot hands, or like amputee, like robotic hands basically. Also this can qualify into the fun design. This I find this design actually scary in terms of how the head looks like. But all the other parts, I really like these like fabric coated body that it has, which gives me a sense of trust, and like something that I can consider somehow to put it into my house as a companion, or like the robot that can do my housework. So yeah, these all visual references was my starting point, which I also created a palette afterwards, which I basically like almost didn't use because like Viscom palettes work in a certain way. I'll move on to Miro a little bit, just to showcase my workflow a little bit further. So I thought like it will be, like I said, it's gonna be an emotional like drone design, which can have this part that can create some connections with the human, which can be used for, I don't know, like small assistants, because I was thinking about it like in around this size, and it can do like small work for you. It can be a companion that can sit on your desk, that you can just talk about something. They can just float around you. It's everything else, like everything that you can think of in terms of having a Pokemon on your desk, for example. So that was a starting point. But then I started thinking about like, this part doesn't have any images. This has the core values of that design. So these help me visualize things without even drawing something on a paper. It's difficult to grasp at first, but I really found this useful, quite useful for the later stages, because I just keep going back to this and reference to the parts, especially on the engineering logic and purpose and behavior, for example. Sometimes like we all get lost in the process, so it's great to go back to a source that is written somewhere that you can just arrange yourself again. So I basically use this mind mapping as something that I will always go back to and just refer to when I'm lost in the process. I think it kind of explains itself. Design language and the design language involves all those like color, materials, and feelings that I just mentioned about. Form and proportion, I also have mentioned it, but we can go deeper into this and think about like how that form and proportion actually makes you feel like. That also includes interaction and purpose and behavior. Interaction by itself is like, for example, something that I just didn't really touch upon. It was a phone interaction, but tapping, touch interaction are basically also coming from the references I've initially found, which involves the fabric and like the warmth of it. Purpose and behavior, this is the core values. This is why the design is there. So you first throw them in and then think about like how it will make you feel like while you're using it. Engineering logic comes afterwards, I think, but still engineering logic can also affect the overall like form and proportion, and like they go hand in hand because form follows function in the end. And the competitors, of course. And competitors are also important because you better find out like what's out there, even if you're not doing this for commercial purposes, you're just doing it for a portfolio. But it's better to have some knowledge about what's out there, and just maybe you can get some inspiration from, or like find some other like ways to divert yourself from it and just make something original. There's some additional stuff here after this mind mapping over here. I just thought like maybe there could be some additional stuff, which includes the overall design language, form. I personally find the Venezuelan poodle moth a lot like very cute, and like it's has this puffy, like has this furry feeling, as it just makes me want to pet. It's something I just want to get on the design. Maybe some elements as well, like the antennas and stuff that I would like to refer. This is a shape I really find it playful, and also like it's very simple. I want to keep things as simple as possible, because if you look at the cartoons, for example, they are the most like simple shapes, and they're the most emotional ones, because they display for the back of your brain with those like smallest, like very basic shapes and design, which makes them easier to grasp for the kids, but it's also emotional in itself. And that's something I will aim for while I'm designing this stuff. Also the button, there must be some on and off button just in case. And I was thinking like indirect light under the buttons are very like cool, and they kind of feel like they're there, but they're not. They're kind of integrated with the design. So I thought like I could maybe incorporate that in there as well. Same for the sun as well. It's the eyes that I just want to also put into a design, which is like, this is some LED screens or digital screens covered with fabric, which is exactly what I was looking for the design that I was going to make. So this is going to be the biggest reference here. Like, let alone the screens, like the eyes, it's the shape, it's the lights, it's the material, and the color, and the feeling of it. I think this is great. I think this was a great like starting point. This is where I start actually, and then I started looking for like some joints and stuff for the arms. I thought like ball joints are also very cool, and I thought like it could be nice to have them in design as well, because it's gonna have some legs. And then I just move on with the designs that we have over here, like the references. As far as the first model that I made in Gravity Sketch. Before that, I have done some sketches. I don't know where they are. I can't look for it while I'm explaining it to you guys. But I mostly started doing stuff in Gravity Sketch because I really find it very interactive to start designing stuff in there. And then, like, if you are very curious, you can actually start like polishing designs in Gravity Sketch, and then move on to Wiscom if you want, and then like and then you can start polishing stuff in there. This screenshot in particular, I just put into Blender after like quickly modeling it in Gravity Sketch, so I could feel the overall sense of scale and how it might look like in general. None of these design elements will be necessarily in the final model that they're going to provide. I'm still looking for the model, like the sketch over here, but the chance I've got like nice over here. Let me make you guys wait a little bit. 70 pages. Just organize it a little bit. I won't be able to find it. It's also not that important, you know. It's like very rough, like sketches. It doesn't matter at all. No, it's not here, I guess. Anyways. So yeah, let's consider this as our starting point. And then I just put it into Wiscom, generated some drone designs. I thought like it would be cool, like cute. And there's some elements that I kept in this one, like the kind of the eyes and the propellers in the back. I was also thinking about like some it's called alternatives for elevation, like how we can propel above, like how we can fly. And then I thought like, maybe we can incorporate some there's some Dyson ventilation system. I know there won't be enough to levitate the design, but I just want to use it because I didn't want any exposed, dangerous looking propellers outside of the design. So yeah, I thought like, maybe we can do that and somehow hide all that mechanics in the body itself. So I thought this ventilation system would be a great starting point for such engineering elements. Yeah, this is the secondary blockout that I had. This doesn't have any interior yet. It only has cuts, and like I did some basic like thought behind it about how things are placed, and like how the joints are placed, and how the propellers are stated in the back, and how they are connected to the body and the face itself. Yeah, here you go. There's also reference point for the propellers. And how it works basically, it gets the air from here, and from the motor it just goes up and it goes inside this like body over here. It's basically like a circle. It has this airfoil inside. It's just like the planes, but think of it as an inverted way of plane wings, and it just goes inside and just creates this like tension in the very thin like opening, and just creates this force and just lifts it up. Well, in theory, but it doesn't really matter at this point. And yeah, and then we move on back to the BlizzCon. Yeah, these are the sketches that I have generated. None of them are winner, so they are just some reference points, but none of them will be in the original end product that I'll publish in the end. So yeah, this was the starting point. I'll move on to Fusion 360 right now. I recorded some elements from it, and I'll also do some commentary above. And yeah, if you guys, like I said, if you guys have any questions about it, just let me know. I'll just write it down. I will just try to reply to all of them, and then yeah, and then we will move on. These are just some snippets from Fusion 360, and it's been a while since I used it actually, but it's nice to go back. It's quite obvious, I think, the process here. I have actually put everything that I've done in Gravity Sketch into Fusion 360, but I'm trying to be a little bit more confined with my choices of the shapes, because what I was trying to achieve over here is something that's like hard to, like easy to distinguish, but still simple as a shape. Some could say minimalistic, I'll say minimalistic, but also fun. So I'm trying to simplify my initial model from Gravity Sketch in here in Fusion 360. I'm first trying to get the overall shape, overall design language, and then start like refining it as much as possible by being a lot more like confined about my choices in terms of the design, the thickness of the materials, or like the material choice. Therefore, I'm doing a bunch of like back and forth between Photoshop, because I didn't really think through most of the details beforehand, because I kind of did that while I was modeling stuff in Fusion in Gravity Sketch. Right now it's good to do some quick sketches in Photoshop just to see like how the material, how the pieces or different components could be integrated into the actual design. It's explanatory, I think. It's like the air flow coming inside and just goes through the motor and just goes down to create this like this floating effect on the design. I'm also looking back at it, and another like angle from the top, because I wasn't sure how it would actually look like when I'm looking from the top, especially the air vents. And I was thinking like, okay, think about the maintenance as well. Like one part should come off, and like you should somehow like take it apart out of the power and just clean it maybe, or like or just do some maintenance inside the motor so the part has to come out. And then yeah, you should think about the individual pieces, because if you almost go something that's like mono chassis at first, until start thinking about like how is that person going to reach out to the pieces that might need some further investigation. So something to consider while designing, I think. Okay, I didn't speed this part up. I'm designing the legs over here. The initial design had one joint, I think, and one joint is generally not enough because we have two joints in our fingers, and the more joints you have, the more reach that your structure might have. But also on the other hand, it becomes more flimsy. But I think two joints are good for this case. I'm putting in the ball joints and the limbs together. Like, yeah, this design had like one joint. Let's see where this will go. I think in this part I was still thinking like maybe having only one joint. I'm not considering the main joint above on the actual body. I'm just talking about the arms, the fingers. Yeah, it's still one joint and there's one finger on it, like fingertip. I thought this was enough, but yeah, it's not. I'm trying to imagine the toys they have in the malls and stuff, you know, just grab the toy and just hook it up and just get the toy. I think even those have like two joints. We're back to Fusion 360 again. I'm trying to kind of demonstrate over here how I have achieved the fingers slash arms. I don't know what to say for those. I think it's fingers. Let's say fingers. I'm trying to be as simple as possible in this stage, but I'm also constantly checking the size of this stuff. Therefore, I have this over here, the compass. We call it compass in Turkish, but I just don't know what's called actually. Just keep it on the side so that it will be easier for me to imagine the sizes. Like if one part is like 2 millimeters, I just move it to 2 millimeters and then just check, okay, this is considerably good size. So it's always good to have either ruler or sort of like a compass or something on the side. Or like you can always grab something on your table. I have a lot of shit on my table, sorry about that. And then I check the size, okay, this is this size, and it basically engraves into your mind. The joints must have some nests in the limbs, and therefore I'm trying to think about like how those could be integrated together. And eventually I will do some basic rigging on this in Fusion as well because it's like easy process, and it's a very easy structure too. So I thought I could just do it over here just to see how it might look like. So it's like a very simple integration there. I don't know if I'm covering the joints over here as well, the rigging. Let's see if I can cut that. Yeah, so it's quite easy. You just pick the pivot point where you want to have the joint, and then it just creates the joint over there. and then you attach that to the regarding components, which will have limbs, and then you basically connect them and you define how that joint will be. This is ball joint, so it will move like almost 360, except for the very tip. So you just say that, okay, this is going to be a ball joint, and then you just start, you can just move it, and if you want you can put some constraints to it so it won't move above that constraint. For this case I didn't add any constraints because I mean it's not really necessary, I just wanted to pose it myself. So if this was going to go to manufacturing, I would probably add that just as an extra information. I'm trying to find this like nice looking posture to it so I can just copy and paste the armature on the other side, because the ball joints are in the same size. The reason why they're in the same size because it will be easier for us to maintain the robot. If there will be something wrong, we won't have to produce like different types of legs, like 2 types of legs for this. It will be just one type of leg, and then you will just sell it. It's like pretty much how can I say, like symmetrical, I would say. Back to Fusion, and this is actually the final model. I didn't really record everything because it took me a long time, and basically showed you guys the actual like pinpoints about what's actually important, what was important design process, because this design actually has a lot of interior pieces, and let me actually show it to you guys. Here on inspect you can go to section analysis, and if you pick a cut plane, which I usually put my designs on the 000, and then you can use the panels like planes from each convergent axis, so you can see the different sections easier without creating new planes in between. If you want something specific, you can of course always do that. Let's turn on the analysis. Yes, here we go. So all these, this one, no, this part over here, the legs, and some internal parts that I'm going to also show are different components as visible here, and we can actually see what's going on inside. As you can see over here, there's like a motor which will allow us to have this airflow and like and use that for pushing our design up. And there will be also ball joints over here, so we can control the propellers like up and down, and like have them at the angles, so they can control the overall direction on the air. And this is the screen. The inside part is over here. This is the screen, and of course there's some lifts and grooves, so it will be easy for the manufacturer to understand how they can create those. All of these are kind of speculative, and like I'm not a manufacturer myself, I only speculate about how thick the material can be, which is like 1 millimeter in this one, I think, or like 2 millimeters of a thickness in the material. Just give it a bit of a leeway, but it can be thinner, of course, or it can be a lot more like thicker or like more streamlined in a way. This is an additional slot over here, which is attached to the head. Let me just find this quick. Yeah, this is an additional slot, and there's going to be a PCB board underneath, and this is going to be a screen, which will have the eyes of the character of the product. And this also has another motor, and the motor sizes are pretty much the same, which, like I said before, it will be easier for seller to produce their parts that way. I engraved some additional details over here. I've made them in Illustrator, like the Lumi and some indicators on the UI, the interface, some additional details over here, some fun stuff about the manufacturer information, some logos and icons over here. There's the graphic representation of the head and the internal parts, of course. Like this part is going to be the cap, and just lift it after you press over here, and this will be attached to this. Let me just find this. And there will be the PCB slot for the antennas, and there will be also the battery section that you can replace batteries, recharge them, or just buy a new one. And there's also, if you lift the battery up, there's some screws over here which will give us the access to the bottom part, which will have some computing parts of the propellers and stuff, or the basic computing stuff. So yeah, this is the overall design that we have achieved in the end. These are the leg parts, and they have the patterns that we were trying to achieve in the first reference search that we had. I didn't start with the materials in the get-go. I generally first started with some gray like standard material in Fusion, and then start putting materials afterwards, thinking about how they might be interacted by the user and stuff. So that's why I was thinking okay, this can be fabric, for example. This part also is going to be a fabric. This part I eventually changed it into the same material as this, but this is also going to be plastic, for example. So these totes are also coming while we are designing stuff, because there's a bit of a rhythm while we are designing stuff. Fast, initial thoughts, fast, but there's going to be a lot of variations, and then afterwards you kind of slow down, start modeling stuff, start thinking about some details. Just take your time, otherwise it might the design might fall apart. You just have to make it believable somehow. So you should take your time in this part, and while you're doing that, you also start thinking about materials and all kinds of graphical details and those aspects. And then in the end you move on, and then you put into rendering, and then you think okay, well, this material makes sense over here or not, and then you just start subtracting, adding, and then you just find the most optimized possible way to use such materials in the design that you are making. We are at Blender now. I will also show you guys what I taught, whether it was assigning materials again over here. Like I mentioned before, these are going to be fabric, but there's going to be a screen just behind it, so the eyes will move, but still there will be a soft touch on the materials themselves. Same goes for over here as well, because I thought okay, you might want to interact with the robot, so I thought having this more material over there would also make a lot of sense. In the Fusion model, we used dark gray material. I thought dark gray was way too dark for design like this, so I thought okay, let's go a bit more minimal, a lot lighter. So I went for something white, off-white, slight off-white grayish color. But what makes difference over here is the textures, so I added a bump and the noise texture over here, it's all procedural, and just decrease the strength and the scale of it as much as possible, so it can give us the sense of scale while giving us the sense of material itself on the design. So I wanted it not to be like soft that much, but still there's like a bit of roughness to it, so it might feel more alive. It's like actual skin, you know, but it's plastic. So that was the actual reasoning behind it. And I think this is like, such small stuff is very important on communicating with the audience. So having such small like micro roughnesses, micro imperfections help a lot while you are presenting your stuff. Color wise, it was blue before. I thought I could have something warmer, so I thought like, okay, let's get a bit more playful, and just I added some orange, reddish orange colors for the accents. And then we also have the additional light underneath the button over here, on off button, which will give us this lightness on the design. So I had this. Alright, so this was the wrap for the last week's project that we had. It's a drone that actually communicates with the people instead of being a tool, and it becomes a companion for all of us. And I wanted it to be a part of everyday life instead of something that you use and just trash it out and just throw it to the trash in the end. For the next week, I was thinking about some a bit different designs, but I will probably stick to industrial design for a bit. And yeah, we'll let you guys know. I hope I will be able to make something for the next week. Otherwise, the other week we will definitely have something to share. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you got something from this video. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Leave some comments below. I love hearing them. I love seeing the comments. I love seeing the interest. And I will see you guys on the next video. Take care. Enjoy the nice and sunny weather, at least here in Freiburg, and enjoy the time that you have with your friends, with your family, and yeah, and have a nice week, everyone. Bye bye.